tell or educate people is that having nuclear installations doesn't mean that all the eggs are in one basket, and the missiles, the launch systems, the delivery means,
the trigger
mechanisms, everything is precisely in one room, and they'll just walk in, take away, plug them out and go away. No, this is not going to happen. But at the same time, even if a fence is triggered or someone comes close to the fence, that is something we shouldn't really bother about what the West is thinking. That is something we should worry about ourselves, because these are our very precious assets. And first of all, we are the people who have to secure them. Having said that, I think there is also a need to educate the media and the people about these particular things that are coming up, and those who are responsible for this, the spokesperson. I remember there was a time when the military as well as strategic institutions, the Foreign Office is still doing it, the spokespeople would have regular interaction with, with all kind of such public interfaces. I think that is required once again, because there are a lot of questions which are being left unanswered, and because of those answers not being given, there are a lot of spin doctrines that are going on, and those need to be soothed.
So, may I just add, I think if there is even an attack on the fence of any nuclear facility, I think there's a lot of concern, not only inside but externally. As you know, the Americans have a policy which has been passed that they have a right to intervene in case there is a danger to nuclear material getting into the hands of terrorists, and they have allocated $25 million for this recently. And top of that, there is of course the resolution in the United Nations which allows the UN to to go to any country to secure these also. So it's a matter of concern, because even if there is a slight attack.
It is a matter of concern. Before I close this topic, I would also like to enumerate that there are instances that once the Soviet Union broke up, quite a few of the nuclear assets were in various Central Asian states, and pressure was applied that they either destroy them or they surrender them to Russia. South Africa was asked to destroy its assets, and it has done that. I want to come to another aspect now, sir. Having said that, isn't it time that we thought of very cogent policies or things to tackle this problem, sir? I mean, let me give you the example, if you permit, sir. 9/11 happened. The Americans, they revised their policy. It was a major shock for them. The Homeland Security and whatnot came out. 7/7 happened. Britain revised its policy. Even India, after the Mumbai attack, has addressed this. So what should be our stance?
Well, I think the very first and foremost thing that is required to be done is to adopt a anti-terrorism policy. And following with that is necessary to establish an institution. The government did last year establish an institution which was to have been headed by a retired IG of police, a well-respected IG police. There were even 16 crore rupees were allocated towards the establishment of that. But for one reason or the other, it could not be inaugurated. So one of the things that is required to be done is to reactivate this. First, form a policy which should be a national policy, taking into all the stakeholders, the military in particular, which has so far been seen as only one responsible for security. It has to be an all-encompassing policy which takes the civil side as well. Police has an important role to play. Along with that, we also have to see the source of the fundamentalism, where it is coming. There are now known facts, again quoting WikiLeaks and Hunt, who was the American diplomat in Lahore, his meetings, etc., that there are madrasas which are producing young, children are being sold to them, and they are being trained eventually to become jihadis. So we have to bring about a fundamental approach to change the curriculum of the madrasas, having alternate education institutions from there. The Pew Research Center in 2004 had done a survey in which it was found that 41% of the Pakistanis felt that the militancy was necessary, and even suicide bombings were necessary to preserve our Islamic culture. But in 2008, I think 6, or 2008, when the latest review, and now 74% of Pakistanis say
I'll ask
that,
you.
yeah, Pakistanis say, okay, no, this is wrong, and the people are behind. So we have the masses are behind us. All it needs is the government to be able to formulate a policy, implement it by establishing institutions, following the example not only of America, Britain, and Germany, and many other countries.
So Salma Malik, do you agree with what the ambassador says, or do you have any further suggestion to this?
Well, definitely. There has to be a centralized policy. And we cannot actually afford at this time to have one institution running counterterrorism on behalf of the entire country and the rest of the country saying, oh, sorry, we don't own this war. This cannot happen. I mean, of course, like, public opinion can be shaped in whatever direction it needs to be shaped. But at the same time, I would also say that given the wealth of information coming from all sides, log on to the internet, you can't stop the internet from providing you information. There are so many social as well as public, private enterprises through which you can get very good information. So there is no dearth of information for the public to feed onto. What you basically require is a very centralized policy which would have the government, the civil institutions as well as the military working hand in hand. And when we say military, at the same time, who needs to take the ownership of counter-militancy or counter-insurgency operations? Definitely the military has been trained and equipped in these years to do that particular work, but it's the law enforcement agencies that need to be empowered now.
But the primary thing, what the ambassador just pointed out, it has to evolve from the parliament.
Yes, definitely.
The parliament being the representative of the people.
The civil ownership has to be there. There can
Not
be no
only
two words
ownership,
to that.
they have to give the guidance. They
Yes,
have to
definitely.
give the execution orders.
Yes,
the army
they
is
have
only
to.
a tool. The
They
police
have
is
to.
only a tool.
That's precisely the point. The army and the police have to be the tool, but very active tools. But at the same time, the law enforcement agencies, which would also include the judiciary and all, everyone has to follow the right sequence of action. Starting from the parliament, where you cannot be dismissive about what is happening, how it is happening, oh, we didn't know about it, let's go to the GHQ and ask them. All that the GHQ is suddenly caught unawares, or any of the headquarters are caught unawares, we didn't really know, it happened in the middle of the night. No, this cannot really happen, we can't afford it. The credibility of the state is at stake. That is the larger question, and all of these institutions make up the state.
So,
may I just add, you mentioned judiciary, it is also very important that the judiciary must play its role. When it comes to terrorism, we've seen that many
Yes.
of the terrorists have been let off because of lack of proper evidence and so on.
Yes.
But not only that, I mean, where we have a clear-cut case, we are not able to take a decision. Salman Taseer's murder is a classical example. I mean, 5 months have passed, and we have no, judgment, no final judgment on that. So there is a need that we must, however difficult it is, we must take political ownership of the war against terror. We must be doing it in a very cogent, very effective way. And everybody has to play his role. All the pillars of the society have to play their role.
So when the ambassador talks about the pillars of the society, one very important pillar is the media.
Yes.
And the media, unfortunately, fortunately it's very vibrant. Fortunately it's very awake. Fortunately it is very, very vigilant. But at the same time it is being, or at least attempts are being made to manipulate it from outside.
Yes,
so what we as the media need to do, not only to make sure that the government has its policy, that the policy is being executed, but we keep the people informed about what's going on.
Well, I'm not a media person, but at the same time, I think if the media really needs to figure out what to do, it's the media itself that needs to get introspective and see that is everything that we are doing is the right thing, or our end goal is a breaking news. If the end goal is a breaking news, then they are an unleashed force. they can go in any direction and they can be channeled in any direction. So that factor is there. But at the same time, when the media takes this response, a lot of times I do see that the media becomes the analyst, the executor, the planner, everything. That doesn't really have to be there. And institutions do that. Media, we are taking as an institution. Institutions do that when they find vacuums around them. So they step into those available vacuums and they take on those responsibilities by themselves.
So the point you're trying to make is...
It's both introspective as well as the space that they find around them in the society, which they can capitalize and really work on. If the media is informed from within and they have an open access to a lot of things, I guess it will take some time for the media to mature, but it will finally realize what are the do's and the don'ts. And the do's and the don'ts have to come from the media itself, not from outside.
I mean, of course, I'm not by any chance recommending, and I would not like to even hear this word, that there be censorship or any such thing.
Not at all.
But the important thing, Ambassador, is that all these institutions, including the media, should be on one page.
That's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. But I just want to add that you know, we are fortunate that in Pakistan we have the freest of media, and one has to acknowledge that the sacrifices that has been made by them in pursuit of finding out the truth behind many cases and scams. I mean, the recent example is Halim Shehzad. You know, in South Asia, in the last year, there were 20 journalists who have been killed, 16 of them in Pakistan. So this is one of the worst places in the world for a journalist. I mean, their role, what I'm trying to really say is that it is still in a maturing stage, a process, the media, and they should continue to play the positive role it is doing so
Definitely,
far.
but please look at it this way, that if we have sacrificed 16 journalists, we are actually in a state of war, where the journalist unfortunately has the front seat, and he is the most, or she is the most exposed person because of the effort to try and get a story.
Definitely, definitely that factor is there, but what the front is also needs to be defined, and that will take the debate in a totally different direction. And of course,
now that we are coming towards the end of this program, I would like to solicit from you your closing comments before I ask the Ambassador to do that.
Well, in case we are talking about what to do in terms of
as a nation,
actions tomorrow as a nation, we need to own what is happening around us. And by doing that, of course, the first step that has to be taken from is the political leadership. The opposition as well as those sitting in the seat of power, they all need to be together in this. They cannot really do election gimmicking by disowning something and by appeasing certain elements, because when those elements turn their guns on people, they do it indiscriminately. So they really have to be together on one page. And then, of course, it has to be an overall, all-encompassing policy which really works in tandem.
Right. Your closing comments, sir.
Well, I think it's important that we should have a national policy on not only on terrorism but also our relations with United States, because there has been a lot of criticism, anti-Americanism. We are not saying that cut diplomatic relations, but we should not be a dependent state, because then your space for foreign policy independence has gone. We have the resources in the country. You know, if you just have the proper taxation, you can more than make up what is being provided by the Americans from there. So it is important that we should reconsider our policy vis-a-vis relations and draw a line, try and become more self-reliant. Means tightening our belt, we should do that. And own
better governance.
Self-governance and self-reliance.
Governance is very important.
So viewers, with that we come to the end of this very, very hot debate. This is the topic which is being discussed probably in every household. But our two very eminent panelists have pointed out that the most important thing that we need to do is for the Parliament to evolve a cogent policy in which all the institutions are on board, and then to revamp the institutions and also execute it. They have also discussed that the media needs to play its role. It's already very vibrant, but it needs to have its policy taken from the national policy regarding terrorism. And then, end of the day, We all have to be on the same page, because we are fighting a fleeting enemy which does not have a name, which does not have a face, but which we have to defeat if we have to survive as a nation, because Pakistan is here to stay. Thank you so much, Ambassador Aslam Rizvi. Thank you so much, Salma Malik. And viewers, we hope to see you next week, inshallah, with another episode of Defense and Diplomacy.